Hey, you're in the paper, Harriet said as she sat on the couch reading the paper. She lowered the paper and looked at Jemima, who was laying on the floor on her tummy coloring a picture for Mommy. Harriet smiled at her baby girl. The way she had her tongue sticking out in concentration while she colored was absolutely adorable. Jemima finished the part she was coloring and looked up at Harriet. "What for?" she asked. Harriet quickly read the caption under the picture. "Diapered Dandy is pictured here giving a few thugs a good thrashing," she read. "It's talking about how you stopped that yacht club robbery the other day," she said. Jemima beamed and got up and sat next to Harriet on the couch. She smiled even wider when she saw herself in the picture. The pair read the article and Harriet gave her baby girl a big hug. "What was that for?" Jemima asked, and watched Harriet get up from the couch. "Because I'm so proud of you," she said and started to cut out the article, and then hung it up on the fridge. Harriet came back to the couch and picked Jemima up and hugged her again. "What was that one for?" she asked, cuddling into Harriet and placing her pacifier into her mouth from where it was clipped to her shirt. "That was because I love you," she said and kissed Jemima on the forehead and then smiled as she looked down at her baby girl. It had been a little over a week since they had started playing mommy and baby, and the two had fallen into their roles quite easily. Jemima had spent the night at Harriet's almost every night since they'd started, and the two had become very close. Harriet carried her charge to the bedroom and laid her down next to her in the bed. "Let's take a nap, and then later we can go out and see if we can't get our picture taken together," Harriet said and pulled Jemima close to her. Jemima nodded softly and cuddled up to her mommy, her eyes drooping as she softly sucked her pacifier. "I love you too, Mommy," she said. Harriet smiled and kissed her head again, and the two drifted off to sleep. "Jemima!" Harriet yelled as a large hellion with a bat came up behind Jemima and swung at her, connecting with her head and sending her sprawling to the ground. Harriet blasted him back with a shot of radiation from her eyes and ran to Jemima's side. As Harriet checked to make sure Jemima was okay, another hellion came up behind her. He wore a mantle of stone over the top of his body, and had his hands encased in stone as well, and gave Harriet a hard right hook to the side of the head, sending her crashing into the side of a dumpster and leaving her in an unconscious mass on the ground. The stony hellion made his way closer to Jemima and raised his arms above his head and brought them down to smash her flat. Jemima lifted her legs quickly and encased them in stone just in time to block the attack. As the hellion moved to make another attack, Jemima kicked him hard in the gut and put the hellion down. With the threat contained, Jemima turned to where Harriet was, and saw that she was gone. "Harriet! Where are you?" Jemima shouted, worry building up inside her. Jemima looked around for Harriet, and saw a man carrying her up a ladder on the side of the building. "Hey! Come back here," she shouted and ran toward the ladder, and started to follow the man. As she neared the top of the building, a bright light flashed in front of her, and suddenly the man was above her. He dropped onto her, his feet planted firmly in her face, causing her to plummet to the ground. Jemima recovered after a moment, her back aching from the fall, and she shakily got to her feet. What the heck was that? She thought just before there was another flash behind her, and then a hard blow came to her back and sent her into the wall of the building.